Hello again. This is pattern number 5. In pattern number 5, we have SVOO. SVOO. The S stands for the subject. The V stands for the verb. The first O stands for the indirect object. The second O stands for the direct object. So in this pattern, we are going to see that the structure of this pattern consists of the subject plus the transitive verb plus the indirect object plus the direct object. So two objects to be seen within this pattern. Okay, let's take an example. The mother bought the girl a dress. The mother bought the girl a dress. So the mother here is the subject, right? Bought is the transitive verb. The girl is an object. The address is another object. Okay, so I have here two objects following the transitive verb. The girl and addressed. So the mother bought whom a dress? The mother bought the girl a dress. Okay, so the mother bought the girl what? The mother bought the girl a dress. So if the two items, noun phrases following the transitive verb answer the questions whom and what, so we are going to say the one with whom is going to be indirect object, but the one with what is the direct object. This is to say what? That if I see two objects within the same sentence, two objects appearing in the same sentence, the object with the personal reference will be indirect object, but the object with a non-personal reference will be the direct object. Okay, so if I see it and I see them together, but if I see just one object, so this means pattern number 4. So one of the characteristics of this pattern is that the verb here must be transitive. Okay, what else? We said that we have two objects. One follows the second after this transitive verb. One indirect, the second is the direct one. Sometimes we can omit the indirect object. Sometimes we can omit the indirect object. If we do so, the pattern of the sentence will be changed from 5 into 4. Why is that? Because we are going to see just the subject plus the verb plus one O, that's to say the direct object. If 2, it means pattern number 5. Okay, what about the grammatical meanings of the elements within this pattern? Of course, we said that whether in pattern number 1, pattern number 4, and pattern number 5, the grammatical meaning of the subject is that the performer, the doer of the action, the one who or which is responsible for doing the action of the verb phrase. Okay, what about the direct object? Again, if you remember well, we said in pattern number 4 that the grammatical meaning of the direct object is the undergoer of the action, that which is under the effect of the action done by the verb phrase. Okay, what about the indirect object? What does it mean grammatically speaking? It means, or it has the grammatical meaning, that is the beneficiary of the action of the verb plus the direct object. That's to say, who will get benefit out of this action? Who will receive the action? Of course, the indirect object. So once we said the mother bought the girl a dress, who will take the address? Of course, the girl. Who will receive the dress? Of course, again, the girl. Who will get benefit out of this act of buying the dress? Again, the girl. So this is the grammatical meaning of the indirect object, the beneficiary of the action of the verb plus its direct object. Okay? Sometimes we can say that or ask a question. Do you think that all transitive verbs in English can be followed by direct and indirect object? Do all transitive verbs let me say it again. Can we see all the transitive verbs be followed by both direct and indirect object? Of course not. That's to say, not all transitive verbs can be followed by two objects. That's to say, here we can see a restricted group of transitive verbs to be followed by two objects. What are they? They are give, make, find, tell, buy, write, send, ask, play, build, teach, assign, feed, offer, throw, hand, pass, sell, and pay. Okay? These verbs, transitive verbs, can be followed by both direct and indirect objects. Okay. Because we have two objects and we would like to change the sentence into passive, we will see two passive sentences as such. That's to say, sometimes in one case I can take the direct object to be the subject of the passive sentence. In another one, I can take the indirect object to be the subject of the passive sentence. Okay, the same sentence. The mother bought the girl a dress. I will take a dress to be the subject of the passive sentence. So I can say a dress was bought the girl by the mother. Okay. Or I can take the girl to be the subject of the passive sentence, saying what? The girl was bought a dress by her mother or by the mother. Okay? So this means there is a shift in positions. The direct or the indirect object can be the subject of the passive sentence. The form of the verb will be changed into be plus past participle form. So the mother bought the girl a dress. We can say a dress was bought the girl. Why was not is? Because the tense of the sentence is that of the past. This is why we select was, not is. And why do we select was, not were? Because here address, which is considered as the direct object of the active sentence, is singular. This is why we choose was, not were. Okay. And by her mother is considered as the propositional phrase in which we see the mother is the subject of the active sentence, but now in the passive sentence it is considered as the object of the proposition. So a shift of roles, grammatical roles. Okay. In some cases, however, the passive transformation does not sound fully natural and seems to demand a proposition. Sometimes, once we change from active into passive, we are in need of a proposition to make the sentence sound natural. The same as we said, the surgeon found the crucified. So we add what? For, to make the sentence what? Sound as natural. This is in certain cases, of course, connected by certain verbs. Okay? So we are in need of a proposition. Sometimes there must exist a must proposition. How is that? We have two cases for this. Number one, if the direct object is a pronoun, of course we are talking about in the transitive verb followed by two objects. If the direct object is a pronoun if, again, the direct object is a pronoun, it must occur before the indirect object, and the indirect object here should be preceded by a preposition. So again, if the direct object is a pronoun, not a noun or a noun phrase, okay, so where should we place it? It should occur first before the indirect object, and because here in this case the direct object precedes the indirect object, the indirect object must be preceded by a preposition. Like what? The mother bought it for the girl. You remember the original sentence is what? The mother bought the girl a dress, right? So I would like to shift now to substitute a dress by it. So I can't say the mother bought the girl it. We are going to say the mother bought it, I mean the address, bought it for the girl. So in this case, we can precede the indirect object by what? A preposition. So it is a must preposition. Okay, again, in case number 2, if the two objects are pronouns, if the two objects are pronouns, I mean the direct and the indirect objects, both of them are pronouns. So what shall we do? First, we should place the direct object before the indirect, the same as the previous case. The second one is that we should precede the indirect object by a preposition, the same as we say the mother bought it for her. The mother bought it for her, not the mother bought her it. So whether the direct object is only a pronoun, or the direct or indirect object, both of them are pronouns, we should first place the direct object before the indirect object, and number 2, we should precede the indirect object by a preposition. Here is what the case of the must preposition. Okay, back again to number 5. If you see it now well, we say that we change the sentence from active into passive with these two objects. So passive number 1, a dress was bought the girl by her mother. So again, a dress is the subject of the passive sentence, was bought is the verb, the girl is the direct object. So even if I change a sentence with two objects from active into passive, I will see one of the object to be the subject of the passive sentence, that is a dress, the second object to remain as it is as the object, to remain as it is as an object of the sentence. So we call it here as a retained object. A retained object. Why we call it as such? Because it will stay as it is as an object in the passive sentence. So it will not be changed into a subject. One of them will be changed into subject. The second one is going to be as it is as an object within the same sentence. Okay, so here the girl in the sentence a dress was bought the girl is a retained object. Okay, let's see the second sentence. The second passive sentence. The girl was bought a dress by her mother. So the girl is now the subject of the passive sentence. And the dress here is the retained object. Why is such? Because it will remain as it is as the object of the active sentence, though it is changed into the passive. Why? Because we have two objects. Of course, one of them will be the subject of the passive sentence, the second will remain as the object of the sentence. So in the second sentence, address is a retained object. So this is the end of pattern number 5. Thank you so much, and see you again in other lectures. Bye.